Today I've got some lovely new raw materials from Biolandes. So if you don't know who they are, Biolandes are a French company who specialize in producing exceptional quality natural raw materials for perfumery. Now, I did a video a few months back where I smelled some of their samples. Anyway, since then, we've gone and made an order here at the Fragrance Foundry, and I've got some lovely raw materials which I'm gonna smell and let you guys know what they're like. So we've got some really cool things like Vanilla Absolute or Sandalwood Oil, and we're gonna go through all of those in this video. And if you are interested in purchasing any of these, we are now stocking them on the Fragrance Foundry. So if you're in the UK or Europe, because we are going to be adding raw materials shipping to Europe very soon, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, then you can go and pick these up there. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Labdanum Absolute. Now, I did a video about Labdanum Absolute quite a few years back because I was looking for a nice quality Labdanum Absolute for my brand, for one of my perfumes. And the thing about Labdanum Absolute is when you smell it, like many naturals, depending on the manufacturer or supplier you choose, you can get different qualities. And it's one of those things where it can vary even from batch to batch. So previously, I looked at a load of Labdanums and I found one from a manufacturer called Ultra International, which I really, really liked because it was this beautiful sweet Labdanum with this nice honey top note, which dried down into the kind of leathery note that you would expect from Labdanum. Now, when I went to restock it this year, unfortunately, the latest batch was completely different. It was much darker. And what I've learned with Labdanums is there seem to be two different types, right? There seem to be light Labdanums and dark Labdanums. And I seem to like the light Labdanums. So light Labdanums are they're much more sweet smelling. They've got this nice sweetness in the top note. They are lighter in color, so they're less likely to stain, for example. But they also dry down nicely into a Labdanum smell. The darker Labdanums seem to be a bit thicker and heavier. They're not as sweet. They're more kind of leathery, that kind of thing, and they're more just kind of strong overall. Now, obviously, what you prefer probably depends on the project that you're making for or your own taste. So if you are making big kind of thick, I can imagine maybe like an oud perfume, potentially you'd want a darker Labdanum. Whereas if you're making a sweet ambery composition, then it's possibly a light Labdanum might be a bit nicer. It really depends on, what you want to do as the perfumer, right? But I found that I prefer this certain type of Labdanum that's extremely sweet, and it's still got the kind of lovely balsamic tones that Labdanum has as well. So I went and got a load more samples, and I found that this particular Biolandes Labdanum that they're doing at the moment was really, really nice. And actually this was very close to the old Ultra International Labdanum that I got before, which I spent ages sourcing. So I decided to go and purchase a load of this and use that as our Labdanum at the Fragrance Foundry going forward, at least until we run out of that. And then I'll try to do that whole process again, find some more similar stuff. So I've got that here. And if you haven't smelled Labdanum before, it's a very unique smell. I would advise you to go and smell it. It's a very important smell in perfumery. And essentially the way I describe it is a kind of, it's like sweet and leathery. It's balsamic, so it's kind of incensey. And it's just got this beautiful kind of depth and complexity. I kind of see it almost as, it's like a sweet note, and it's kind of in like the woody incense territory a little bit. It's just got a lot going on there. It's one of those things that's a bit hard to describe if you haven't smelled it. But I love this. So that's Labdanum Absolute. Now, another Absolute that I've got here is Vanilla Absolute. So this one is extracted from vanilla beans. And if you want kind of an extract of vanilla, an Absolute is one of the main things you can purchase. Now, this stuff smells absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you've smelled vanilla from the pods before, but it's basically that kind of smell. And compared to vanillin, which is the synthetic vanilla molecule, which is very commonly used in perfumery and in flavorings, and what most people know as the smell of vanilla, that kind of synthetic vanilla, well, that's very sweet. But Vanilla Absolute, this is the real stuff, and it's a lot more complex, it's a lot deeper, and it's got all of these extra facets. You've got a lot of a woody side to it, and you've also got a little bit of a fruity side to it as well. In a sense of, raisins, that kind of fruitiness. You've got a touch of that. But overall, you still got this sweetness, and you've just got a lot more, it's a lot more, I would say, elegant than simply vanillin on its own. Don't get me wrong, vanillin is a great molecule, but for a real luxurious vanilla scent that's very, very realistic, then this is the stuff. Now, a classic amber accord in perfumery is vanillin plus labdanum. However, I've got the labdanum here, and I've got the Vanilla Absolute here. And Vanilla Absolute does naturally contain vanillin. Put these two together, and these two smell absolutely beautiful together, I cannot lie. So you've got this sweet labdanum mixed with this kind of complex, luxurious vanilla, and it's a really, really nice combination. So if you are wanting to basically do your amber accord or make some kind of more luxurious sweet vanilla perfume, then this stuff is absolutely incredible. I'm really hoping that I can find some time at some point to use actually both of these, but especially this Vanilla Absolute for some kind of perfume for my brand. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, so another one that I've got is also an Absolute, and this one is Cocoa Absolute. So this one is extracted from cocoa beans, which are used to make chocolate. Now, on its own, it smells a little bit like cocoa powder. I would say this is the closest thing to it. So it smells like cocoa powder, and it's not sweet. This is not sweet at all. It's very kind of dark. It's a little bit nutty. It's that kind of, very dark chocolate kind of smell without the sweetness. Now, the reason that this is so useful is because if you do want to make a realistic chocolate accord in perfumery, yes, I have done some videos in the past where there are various synthetics you can use to kind of create an illusion of chocolate. And that's all well said and done. However, if you want a really realistic chocolate smell, the best thing to do is actually use this Cocoa Absolute. And the reason for that is because it's one of those things where the natural cocoa beans, they just have so many molecules inside of them, like a massive mixture of molecules in trace amounts, which, they don't really necessarily have as perfumery molecules, at least at the moment, that you can buy. So reconstituting a natural cocoa smell would be very difficult, and I don't know of any examples of someone who's done that well yet. So that is a case when it's good to use the natural extract of something, because it's just much easier. So now, if you do take the Cocoa Absolute and you mix it with the Vanilla Absolute, suddenly you go from smelling like cocoa powder to chocolate. And that is because chocolate is actually made often with either vanilla or more commonly vanillin, that synthetic vanilla molecule, which is also found in natural vanilla. So essentially you can think of it as an accord in perfumery, Cocoa Absolute plus vanillin or Vanilla Absolute, depending on how luxurious you want to go. It smells like chocolate. So if you want to make that smell, then these two are fantastic. Okay, so another one I've got here is Rosemary Absolute. Now, I keep talking about all these absolutes. You may be sitting here thinking, what is an absolute? Okay, so an absolute is a type of extraction method for your perfumery raw materials, a little bit like essential oils. So for essential oils, you heat up, you usually do it with steam distillation. So you heat up a load of water and you pass that steam through, in a big vat through the leaves or whatever part of the plant you're using, and then you collect the oil at the end of it. In an absolute extraction, what you do is you take the plant material again, you put it in a vat, but this time you run a solvent through it to dissolve out all of the aromatic materials and sometimes some other things too. You evaporate off that solvent to leave what's called in perfumery a concrete, and then you go and re-extract the alcohol soluble portion, because you want the portion that dissolves in alcohol, because alcohol is what you use as the base of your perfume. So you want what can dissolve into that, and you get a load of aromatics basically coming out. Now, some plants will do better in an essential oil, some will do better in an absolute, and it really depends on the exact molecules found inside of the plant. The perfumery raw materials manufacturers can use either one of those types of extraction methods or some other ones as well, depending on what's most appropriate. Now, rosemary is a plant where you can actually do a number of different extractions, and you can do both an essential oil and an absolute. Now, usually what's used for rosemary is the essential oil, which is actually found all over the place because it's used in aromatherapy. It's actually not that expensive. But rosemary essential oil, while it is a great tool to use in perfumery and has been used for centuries, The thing about it is it can smell quite sharp, and that's because it's got some camphoraceous notes inside of it. So I discovered this Rosemary Absolute. So they've gone and done the different extraction. And what you usually find with Absolute extracts compared to essential oils is you get more the mid and base notes out in an Absolute extraction if they're there inside of a plant. And the essential oils are more kind of often the sharper terpenic top notes. So the different extractions often get out different things. So you get a different mixture of molecules coming from the plant. Now, when you smell Rosemary Absolute, it smells like rosemary essential oil, like rosemary. However, the Absolute is deeper, it's more woody, and it's also sweeter as well. So I quite like this stuff because if you're looking for a rosemary that goes into the mid note and it's sweeter, it's more complex, deeper, got some woodiness, all of that kind of stuff, then you can go and use this Rosemary Absolute, and you've got that as an alternative to the common rosemary essential oil. So I haven't seen that Absolute before, which is why I thought it was very interesting and it'd be a cool thing to have. And actually, when you go and smell the Absolute and then smell the essential oil, in comparison, the essential oil is very sharp, camphoraceous, and if you don't know what that means, it's kind of that minty, sharp kind of smell that you sometimes get. So you've got that kind of very aggressive element, and sometimes you may want that. But if you're looking for a more toned down rosemary note, which kind of blends and melds more into other things, potentially you don't want that loud shoutiness. So that's why the Absolute could be useful. Of course, you can use them both together to create a more balanced rosemary profile and have a mixture of all of the different things found in rosemary. So that is another nice thing you can sometimes do. If you have an essential oil and an Absolute and you put them together, you can get a more complete odor profile of the plant. So this Rosemary Absolute is very nice. Okay, next we've got an essential oil this time, and this one is from Sandalwood. So sandalwood is one of those things that is quite expensive. It's very popular, but it's expensive. Now, there are some different types of sandalwood, but this one here is New Caledonian sandalwood, which is grown on an island near Australia called New Caledonia. And it's a certain subspecies. Now, this stuff, when I smelled it for the first time, I just thought, wow, this is really, really nice. So if you don't know what sandalwood smells like, it's a woody smell. And I would say it's a bit incensey, probably because a lot of people use sandalwood, either aromas or powder, in making actual incense. So it's kind of a woody smell, and I would say it leans in the direction of cedar wood a little bit, maybe gaiac wood, which is a smokier wood, just a little bit, at least this particular one. But it's got this lovely, almost, maybe not quite effervescent, but it's got this sparkle to it, this beautiful depth and complexity. The thing about sandalwood, which really sets it apart from other woods, is its kind of milky creaminess. And a lot of the sandalwood aroma chemicals or synthetics really have a lot of that milky creaminess, but they lack a little bit of the kind of substantialness, the kind of solidity of the feeling of real wood. They can feel a little bit flat and a little bit thin, I find. So, if you are looking for a realistic sandalwood smell, then this stuff is absolutely beautiful. And I have had a lower quality sandalwood oil in the past from a more cheap kind of mass market, like aromatherapy style manufacturer. I can tell you that this sandalwood from a high quality manufacturer is definitely a big difference. So in a lot of these raw materials, yes, they are expensive, and if that's out of your budget, nothing wrong with that, right? Like you can go and use a load of notes in perfumery, but if you would like to go and get some real sandalwood, then a higher quality sandalwood oil, wherever you get it from, is a really lovely thing to have. Okay, and finally I have some Olibanum oil, otherwise known as frankincense. So this stuff actually comes out of the tree as a resin, and this one is from Oman. So it's actually found in the desert in Oman, and they collect it, extract it, and you get this lovely Olibanum, or otherwise known as, like I say, frankincense essential oil. Now this stuff is absolutely beautiful. There are a lot of different kind of frankincense resins you can get from different places. And you know, they all vary a little bit depending on the trees, the climate, all of that. So it is one of those things that's not always going to smell the same across the board. But this particular Olibanum or frankincense is absolutely lovely. I really like it because while like all frankincense, it's got this kind of like airy freshness that kind of jumps out at you, a little bit of almost this citrusiness. This one actually doesn't push too heavy on those sharper citrusy notes. This one is actually very sweet and well-rounded, and it feels like this very fresh yet full kind of smell. It really makes me think of incense burning in church, that kind of thing. And compared to other frankincenses I've smelled, this one is just so lovely and I would say sweet, rounded, balanced. It just smells absolutely beautiful. So when I smelled this, I thought this is going to be the frankincense to have, at least for me. I haven't smelled anything better myself, although I'm sure there are a lot of lovely frankincenses out there. But yeah, I did think this one was particularly special. So there you go. That is 6 absolutely gem raw materials that I found at Biolandes that like I said, I've now bought these into stock here at both for the Fragrance Foundry, but also for my perfume brand Zero. So hopefully we can make something cool with these at some point. Some other things from the previous video that I decided to bring into stock were the Cinnamon Absolute and Cedarwood Absolute. So if you're interested in hearing about those, then go check the link in the description and watch that previous video. So yeah, that was that. Hopefully you found these interesting. Obviously, you don't necessarily have to buy these from Biolandes. You know, the main thing to look out for in perfumery is a high quality manufacturer, and we've talked about those before. There are a number of kind of more well-known or renowned, let's say, manufacturers. And when buying your natural products in perfumery, the difference that you notice in smell between high quality manufacturers and the lower quality mass market kind of products that you buy is a very big difference. And it is the kind of difference that can really make or break your perfume if you're going for a really nice smelling high-end perfume. You know, obviously you have to be able to compose with the raw materials themselves as well. But imagine a little bit, it's like painting with clean, bright colors versus muddy colors. Your cheap essential oils and things like that are often muddy colors. So even if you've got a red and a pink, they may be a little bit kind of, dulled. Whereas when you're getting stuff from high quality raw materials manufacturers, you're often getting really crisp, nice shades, and you can imagine that translating into smells and how that comes across in your perfume. And this is something that's important for fine fragrance when you're making, high-end fragrances, stuff that's, expecting to be luxury. If you're just making some soaps and candles and stuff, unless you're going really high-end, it doesn't matter so much. Yeah, then you can go and use the cheapest stuff. It depends, how much you're selling your product for, what do the customers expect of it, all of that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm getting on a bit of a tangent, so I'm going to end the video here. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely week ahead, and I'll see you soon with another video all about perfumery.